but...
Not buckle up yet. But yeah. Yeah, because anyway.
It's a thing.
Yeah, when I say, are you ready to buckle up? Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Buckle Up. Man, oh man. No matter what I say, to introduce my guest for this episode, is really not going to give her justice. I'm pretty sure about that, but I'll try. She's one of our heroes, I can tell you that. One of our heroes in the Arab world. I'm very vocal about having our voices heard and having our stories told by us, not for us, if you know what I mean. Our stories in the Western media are always told, oh, they do this, they do that. We don't have a voice. But guess what? Now we have incredible voices, and this incredible person sitting to my right is definitely one of them. So she's somebody who's I definitely look up to. She's an inspiration.
Thank you so much.
She's somebody who impacted a lot of life, and she got a #1 podcast in the Middle East. Right? Am I right? Yeah, man, and this is just incredible in every single way. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and only Rana Nawas. Yes!
Thank you very much for that generous,
how you doing?
Generous introduction.
لا والله تستاهلي أكثر من كذا, and you deserve way more. But how you doing, fam?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Are you ready to buckle up?
Very ready.
And now you can buckle up.
Yay, at last.
We're finally buckle up. She's been buckled up the whole time. Like, I'm telling you, she's a safe driver. Can we buckle up now? Can we buckle up now? All right. Shout out to my brother Azarel, making sure the audio is good. Peace and love to you, fam. Peace and light to you. Saraha, I'm a big fan of what you do, and salute to everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much, big
So we're gonna try to have a conversation. I'm gonna try to make it as light and informative as possible. I want to get to know you. First question that comes to my mind as a human being is, you worked for around 17 years in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. I really want to know what sparked that change. Like, when did you decide? 17 is a really long time. It feels like, khalas, you got immersed in it. You're never gonna get out of it or something like that. It feels. But then you got out of it, and you made history. But I want to know, what was the turning point? What was it?
Yeah, I think like with many things, it's probably not just one thing. So a few things happened around the same time.
Okay.
I had changed my role. I loved my job that I did in aircraft leasing for 9 years. My last 11 years in corporate were aircraft leasing. And for 9 years I was frontline sales. So I was covering Africa, Turkey, Lebanon, and I was in the planes, selling our service and product to the airline CEOs. Then when I had my first kid, I needed to change my role to something that was,
That happens. It's all good. It's the heat. It's the second time, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, first time it happens, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Palestinian poet Farah Shamma.
No.
She's a Palestinian poet. Same thing, but if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, this happens and we're rolling. If you don't know, the degree is around 48, 49, and it apparently affects. So when we interviewed Farah Shamma, it's funny, it's the same thing, it fell 3 times.
Oh.
So this is us, ladies and gentlemen, we're still going on. I'm going to pull over right now, and then, we're going to be right back. You're going to see a very funny kind of break happening right now. We'll be right back. Let's go. Yeah,
awesome.
Go. And we are back.
Yes.
We're back. Okay. So you're saying you had, mashallah, your first kid, and this is where your role as in the business changed.
That's exactly right. So I had to take a role where I didn't have to travel so much and so unpredictably.
And big up to you for that, by the way. I'm trying to say, because, and with all due respect to whatever opinions there are, I think family there comes in where you have to also
and
be present in the family. And,
sure. Look, it's a personal choice, and I had already 15 years at the time.
Correct.
And I started my family very late. So I was 34 when I had I was 36 when I had my first kid, 38 when I had my second.
MashaAllah. Wow.
So by the time my first kid came along, 36 years, I had a long career, and I was really ready to say, okay, now I want to play mama. And so I still wanted to work. So I did I took a lateral move to a job that sounded very interesting, but turned out to be quite dull.
Okay.
And so I wasn't very enthused by it. And then also when I came back from my second maternity leave, the company I was working for had undergone massive org changes. My boss had gone, his boss had gone.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I didn't really enjoy my role.
You're receiving messages already.
Yeah. And my boss, like the whole environment was different. And then the icing on the cake was when I found out I was paid less than my colleagues doing the same job.
I heard you talk about that, and this was okay.
That made me furious. So I was like, that's it, it's time. And of course, I had stumbled across my passion, which as you know, is helping women win.
Yes.
And so I wanted to slide into doing something more direct to help them, because I'd always done it on the side. You know, I ran the GE Women's Network for 3 years. I was president of Elevate. All the stuff I was doing was really meaningful and impactful, but always on the side. So I decided to put my passion and interest front and center. And so I made the jump.
كده على طول. That's it.
كده.
Wow. I love that.
I did start my podcast a few weeks actually before I walked out of the door, the corporate door.
And it was, how was the first, I mean, I gotta ask you about that. Your podcast is, you know, When Women Win. I love the name.
Thank you.
Yeah. Was there a process to come up with the name? I just wanna, if there's a, you know, if there's a story behind the name itself, well, it just, you know, came just naturally.
Well, no, it was a long process
of choosing names.
of like trying this.
What was the first few names?
Oh, you know, that's a great question. I would totally share, except I can't remember now. It's over 2 years. I would love to, gosh, I wish I wrote them down. But it took, I tell you, it took a long process of trial and error to agree on a name. And I was, you know, leveraging my friends.
Of course.
What do you think of this and what do you think of that? Anyway, I mean, what it came down to was the core purpose of the podcast, which is to help women win by exposing them to role models from diverse fields.
Oh, wow.
So amazing women, actually ordinary women doing extraordinary things.
Love that.
And expose them to it and show that, yeah, you know, we know that like Sheryl Sandberg wins, and a lot of people say, well, she's distinctive, and you know, and so there's this impression that the women who win are somehow, you know, really distinctive and unrelatable and achievable and all of that. The point, one of the points of the podcast is actually look at all this array of women winning in all different parts of the world, in all industries. You know, they all look different and sound different. They all do different things. They have different passions, and they're all winning. And so it's to kind of make that winning thing more relatable to listeners, and of course, give inspiration, and most importantly, actionable, practical tips and tools.
But I mean, this, I just feel incredible. And I feel also a bit dumb. I've been roaming around here for like, you know, 2 circles. Talking about winning, we're roaming around every time I reach a dead end. But man, oh man, this is beautiful what you just said. I love what you said because it's true. It comes from different, you know, background, diversity. It's really important. If you allow me, I want to talk about something personal. You know, you were diagnosed with cancer shortly after you actually began.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Wow. I really gotta, I mean, I don't know how to tap into that, but how were you able to overcome that? You started something you're passionate about. 5-6 weeks down the line, you know, you were diagnosed with that. As a human, how did you, like, you know, and as a mother, as a family, how did you go through, like, how did you overcome such a really, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if overcome is the right word. Got through it, maybe more. Look, I think with any news like that, the support you have is really, really important.
True.
I've always had a very positive and optimistic outlook and attitude.
True.
So I'm pretty sure that helped. I don't know. I mean, when I got diagnosed, it was a real shock because I'd literally never been sick. You know, I'd never been to hospital except to have my babies. So when they told me that I had this horrible disease, and this is me, you know, thinking I'm super healthy because I thought I ate healthy. I've always exercised. So it was a real shock to the system. And then they told me I needed chemotherapy every 2 weeks. So I would do it the first week and I'd be really, really kind of out of it. But then the second week, I'd have this real surge in energy.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, when you get a diagnosis like that, you have a lot of choices to make, a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah.
You know, who's the medical team I trust? Where am I going to do my treatment?
Man, oh man.
What am I going to do with the children? What do we tell them? How do we share? My husband, my mother. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people involved there's a lot of people involved in this process.
Yeah.
So keep.
But I swear to any already, guys, you go follow this sister right now, because this is just yeah. Look, we all know somebody that went through this really terrible, disease, and it's like, for me, I hate it. I want to use the F word sometimes to describe this, and I don't get yeah. Anyway, I'm really I'm so proud of you. Like, as somebody who only met you twice, I'm so really proud of you.
Thank you.
Because of how you're talking, and right now it might inspire somebody else who's maybe going through that, or knows somebody that's going through that.
Yeah, and I do have a message about that. It's really no more the death sentence that it once was.
Yes.
And I really want people listening, watching, to understand and believe that. There's treatments now are much better than they were before.
Correct.
And people look at the stats, and the stats go back 25 years when treatment was just different.
Yeah.
So I want people to feel encouraged that this is really now a lot, not all of them of course, but a lot of cancer cases are treatable.
Yeah.
So please don't collapse.
And early detection and early checkups are also very, very important.
Yeah.
You're right. But shout out to my sisters out there, and anyone really who's battling through this.
Yeah.
We really, really salute you. I had no words really to describe it. So that's why when I heard your story, I was like, wow.
And I'd like to mention that while I kept at the podcast because I really felt that what I was doing was very meaningful, and the early feedback that I got was extremely positive. So from the first episodes that I released in October 2017, they were really, really positive. So I knew I was onto something, and so I decided to stick with it. Honestly, it's not like I made a decision that I would keep going, forever, or push through it. I just thought, look, let me take one episode at a time and see how we go.
Yes.
And what ended up happening was the ladies that I was interviewing were so amazing and so energizing and so enriching that they really actually helped me through the process. They really did.
I really love you for saying that, because it's somehow the same kind of process that's happening with me right now.
Cool.
When I sit every time and do Buckle Up, I've done like 28, 29 right now episodes, and it's always the same thing. That's how I open, like it's helping. And you're right, I really feel what you're saying. It helps you because you're talking to different people, different perspective, different opinions.
Yeah, it's like therapy.
Yes.
And B, it's like an education.
Yeah, it's education too.
Because, really, the way you choose your guests probably similarly. The people I bring on the show, they're women that I really want to hear from, that I want to learn from. And so I guess the same reason listeners in the Middle East love the show is the same reason I love the show.
Yeah.
Is I'm learning. Every episode I'm learning and growing as a human. And I hope that's what's happening everywhere.
Man, that's really beautiful. Rana, I gotta ask you about your background. You're Lebanese, Palestinian, grew up in London or lived in London for a while?
Yeah, my dad was Palestinian, Allah yarhamu. My mom is Lebanese, and I was born in the UK.
Yeah.
Not London, actually Birmingham.
Birmingham, okay.
Not quite as posh.
Birmingham.
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Okay.
And then we moved to the UAE when I was 5. We moved to Sharjah, actually.
This is whole Khalita was, like this diversity background. Did it help to shape who you are today?
For sure, for sure. And also the fact that I grew up in Sharjah in Shweifat school, the school that I went to.
You went to Sharjah, Shweifat?
Yeah.
You're kidding?
No,
I was in Shweifat, Sharjah.
Really?
Yeah.
What year were you?
What are you talking about? Look, goosebumps. What?
La.
That I didn't know. It's not written.
It's got to be on my LinkedIn somewhere.
Oh my God, I didn't check LinkedIn. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I was Shweifat, Sharjah. Wow, Hasboun, you know Mr. Hasboun?
Of course.
What?
Mr. and Mrs. Hasboun.
Yeah.
Hey,
1990. I have a long story short. I moved from Saudi Arabia. I didn't speak one word of English, and then 1996, 97, I think. I stayed 3 years.
I left in 96.
Yo.
So June 96, I left to
This
the
is
UK.
crazy.
Yeah, I
Miss
finished.
Miles.
Yes, of course.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I honestly, from going to Shweifat Sharjah.
TMS.
What?
Or AMS.
AMS.
No.
EMS.
EMS, whatever it is.
AMS.
It's AMS.
بتذكر.
تلخبطنا دحين. I'm telling you. شوي fat
Yeah.
people, it's AMS. I'm sure it's AMS.
Yeah, you're right. امتحانات. Yeah, weekly exams.
Wow, okay.
AMS,
So you
you're
moved
right.
to, you're in charge of.
So there, you recall, it was so international. I mean, we'd have a class, and then our classes were like over 30 kids. You know, today my son and his class, maximum 20.
Are they there?
Back then, no.
Okay.
But back then, we were like over 30, and we probably had 20 nationalities out of 30. So my
Facts.
whole upbringing was extremely diverse. And so I've had a lot of practice building relationships with people from different backgrounds.
Okay.
And so now when I work in the corporate world, everyone tells me, oh, your special strength is interpersonal skills and building relationships.
Yeah.
And you know, I almost feel guilty sometimes.
I get you, yeah.
Because it comes naturally because of my upbringing and all the practice I've had. And I think it is a learned skill, but
True.
it's just that I've had practice since
You
the
had
age
to
of
come in
5.
that, yeah. True,
You
true. I
know?
agree. I mean, I had with me like, you know, Greek people and, you know, mixed of all
Yeah,
nationalities.
Pakistani,
Yes.
Iranian, English,
Yes,
American.
yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Wow. طيب, I gotta ask you a very difficult question right now. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's difficult because when they ask me this question, I feel like it's difficult, and I know it's hard. But understand what I'm trying to say. What are your top 3 podcasts so far that you've done? Not in terms of guests, maybe. Okay. In terms of what the guest was able to provide, you know, so that there's no pressure on naming, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I have a favorite, and I can tell you, for example, right now, I have a favorite. It's one episode that impacted me with it.
Okay.
You know, that I can tell you. But what about you? If you can, you know, again, big up to all your guests. I think they're all incredible.
Yes.
I know you're gonna say that, but there's no running away from it. You gotta tell me 3.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't invite them on the show unless it was someone I was super keen to hear from. So everybody who's been on, I've learned something from, and
Facts.
I've truly enjoyed the experience.
But
No, no buts, just ends.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna go back to my very first show because that was the inspiration. Uh-oh.
So good. You can pick
Okay.
up the phone, by the way. When you
No,
say
no.
you're on Buckle Up, it's good advertising.
Oh,
for us.
you want me to?
It's up to you.
No, let's not get distracted.
Yeah.
So it was actually the inspiration behind the podcast was I'd read a book called What Works? Gender Equality by Design. It's written by a behavioral economist at Harvard, Professor Iris Bonet.
Okay.
And it was such a light bulb. It was such a, it really blew my mind that, you know, here we were with all this, the understanding of why gender parity hasn't moved over the last 20 years despite all the talk about it. And this book really uncovered why. Basically, we'd identified the correct problem and given it the wrong solution for like the last couple of decades. And so when I read that, I really needed to know more. So I really wanted to talk to the professor who wrote the book and really dive into it. And so I sent her general Harvard address an email, and I said, hey, listen, Professor Bonet, I've got a podcast in the Middle East, and I'd love to put the word out, you know, can I interview you, please? Because I didn't have any other like context, you know, or platform.
Yeah.
And then she said yes, and I couldn't believe it.
Did she take time to reply, or was it like?
No. And,
oh my God, that's
and
amazing.
And so I was like, oh my God, now I have to start a podcast. So
I love
it
that.
goes. I mean, that's the true story. And so what I learned by reading her book and by interviewing her has very profoundly affected the way I work today and what I do actually. Because you know, there's a lot of focus on gender parity. There's a lot of focus on, you know, fixing the woman. She needs training, she needs confidence, she needs this, she needs that. And it's utter nonsense, right? Of course, there are some women who do. In fact, there are some men who do too.
100%.
But overwhelmingly, the issues that face women in the workplace are institutional, are systemic. There's systemic bias. There's systemic lack of support.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's dropping jewels right now, I'm telling you. Okay, go ahead. Go, continue.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we know there's poor parental support. We know that there's, you know, toxic meetings where women are routinely man-interrupted, mansplained to, their ideas are appropriated, you know, and these are global issues. And then in the Middle East, on top of that, you have like major cultural, on top of that in the Middle East, you have major cultural
Tradition,
issues. Traditional women's roles and things like that. So I really am tired of this whole narrative that we need to fix a woman. Actually, for all underrepresented groups, whether you're talking about women or race or anything, you cannot put the onus on the underrepresented group to fix it, right? The only people who can fix it are the majority dominant group. So in this situation, we need men to help us fix it. You know, for the race that is underrepresented, we need the dominant race to help us fix it. So we need to fix systems, because corporate systems today are self-reinforcing mechanisms. So this whole concept of lean in has been utterly debunked because it's self-reinforcing. You can't go against the system and not get pounded by it. You can't lean in. You
I never really saw it that way before, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
quick question. Yeah. Did you think like that before you start your podcast? Is that something you always had in mind like that? Or you learned throughout? So
I had always wondered why we weren't making progress despite
before the podcast.
Before the podcast.
Okay.
Because I started running the GE Women's Network in 2011. So from 2011 to 2014, I ran it for the MENAT region, so Middle East, North Africa, Turkey. And I became a lightning rod for 700 women. And I started hearing what was going on in the company. And honestly, these were not my experiences. I hadn't faced these issues. And so in my immaturity, I didn't realize what was going on until I took that role. And until I started learning that women in the same building as me were having very different experiences to mine. And still, so back to the point of, well, I knew that there were issues and that we had focused on them for 20 years, but why weren't things getting fixed? And so we know, for example, unconscious bias is a problem.
Yeah.
And we know this, right? Everybody has unconscious biases. Fine.
True.
So the way that the corporate world has tried to deal with them is give this half-day or 2-hour unconscious bias training workshop. Now, unconscious biases exist for good reason. We are wired, these are primal biases, right? So when we were, in days gone long back, you would get an instinct to be suspicious of an animal that was a bit different from you because you didn't know if it was going to eat you. Right?
I get it.
So we are primed to be suspicious of people not like us, or primed to favor people like us, right? It's the homophily trap. Yeah. So these things are all existed for good reason, 2 million years ago, or even 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, but not today, right? In the corporate world, it really gets in the way of good decision making. So people, what unconscious bias is that someone reading a CV or interviewing a person will apply favor to someone who reminds them of themselves, right?
Fine.
And given that 85% of management is male, guess who they're going to hire and promote and pay? Yeah, they're going to pay, not just men like themselves, right? And so this is a real issue.
But that's happening, right? That's a fact.
So that's happening. And so what's been proven is that actually this unconscious bias training and diversity training, which is great for raising awareness, doesn't actually fix the problem.
Oh, wow.
And so this is what I learned from the book. And this is why that book and the first podcast were so pivotal to me as a person and a professional, is because what Iris Bonet proved and what she brought, what various behavioral economists have shown, is that you have to fix processes. You have to fix the system, right? You cannot put the onus on the other party, on the minority, on the underrepresented, because as I said, the corporate system is self-reinforcing. It doesn't support that. So we have to fix processes. For example, if you know that you want a diverse workforce, then you hire with a diverse panel, right?
Correct.
If you're doing interviews,
Yeah.
There's best practice ways to interview that will help you mitigate bias. So, for example,
I like that word.
Yeah, people say, "Oh, I'm going to go with my gut. I'll just freewheel it." That's like the worst thing you can do when interviewing someone. Don't ever freewheel, because that's all bias.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going with my gut. What does that mean? It means I'm going with my bias.
صح.
Right? So
intentionally or not intentionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It could be unconscious. It could be totally unconscious.
Correct.
But that's the enemy. The enemy is actually unconscious bias.
And it's nice that you're addressing, the issue like that, and you know what it is. Wow.
Yeah, and there's little processes we can fix. It will never rule it out entirely, or will never, eliminate it. But at least there's many little ways you can mitigate it.
I'm gonna definitely put a link to your podcast in the link below.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so that's one. There's two more.
All right. Let me see. Okay, I'm just gonna go with.
I hope it's one of mine.
This is so hard.
I
What are
know.
yours?
Huh? Shall I tell you mine?
Yeah, go on then.
Well, I mean, I haven't listened to all the episodes, but I've listened to majority of them. But the one that really impacted me, and maybe I'm biased because of that, is Hala Gurani.
Me interviewing her or her interviewing me?
No, you interviewing her.
Okay. I really enjoyed that episode.
For me, I mean, I love this person. She's just an incredible, overall journalist, human being. But it was nice to get to know her through you.
Yeah.
I never thought anyone would interview her from our reach. I never really thought. I don't know.
She's a rock star.
So
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed
How
that.
is she like in person?
She's so funny.
Okay.
And she's brilliant. Obviously, she's super smart.
Yeah.
And she's all over her global affairs, which I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Above all, she's so funny.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. I don't have too many funny ones, to be honest. Maybe I should get more funny people on my show.
Yeah.
No offense to
No,
my guests
blessings
so far.
to all. But okay, there's still two more for me.
Two more?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is really hard.
Is Hala one of them? Is Hala one of the three?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So one more.
And so Hala we went a bit off piste because we talked a lot of politics.
Okay.
And I don't do politics on the show.
Well, politics or polytricks, we call it in the hip hop world.
Oh, nice. So as a rule on When Women Win, we're a business podcast that caters to corporate women with diverse interests. But with Hala, it was unintentional. It just went. I mean, she has her own show, right? Hala Gurani Tonight, every night in London. And what do you think it's about?
Yeah.
So it got a little political. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess if I had to choose one more here, I'll choose another book that I kind of reviewed, which was How Women Rise, the 12 Habits Holding Women Back.
Wow.
And
by who?
So two co-authors,
Okay.
and I interviewed them both, one in season 1 and one in season 2.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I interviewed the co-author in season 2 is because the episode in season 1 got so much positive feedback. And
MashaAllah.
so it's Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's and Sally Helgeson. The two of them are very, very experienced, renowned executive coaches. And that episode, I mean, I love all my episodes, but that episode is one where women of all levels in their career have reached out and said that was really something. Like that, I really related. I saw myself in that. Oh my God, I'm so glad you flagged that. Like it's a show that really impacted people. Now, of course, the shows are very diverse in terms of there's inspiration.
Yeah.
Like we have loads of, women who come on the show who are really, really inspirational. I mean, if I talk about like Muna Ataya or Lily Kandelaft or loads of incredible women who are doing great things on a daily basis. So that's the inspiration side.
Big up, yeah.
And then there's the other side, which is, the practical tools side, like books like, from Iris Bonet or Marshall Goldsmith. The books I mentioned are the tools. And then the inspo is available everywhere. Yeah.
So you love to read?
Yeah, I'm a voracious reader, yeah.
Okay. For somebody who's watching this right now and they're having difficulty, maybe you could tell us quickly a tip to read. Like for example, in Islam actually, the first word in the Quran is Iqra. Iqra, it means like it's given actually in an order way, like read. Sadly, we don't read enough, in my opinion. I think the Arab world, I'm talking about the Muslim world, don't read enough.
Yeah.
What could be a tip from your end to start reading? Is it small books, big books? Is there a way to do it? Is there...
I think the way to start is on a genre that interests you.
Okay.
So, for example...
I love that you said that, because that's what I'm saying. For example, I love hip-hop and basketball.
So read about them.
That's what I'm starting.
Yeah. Brilliant. And, I love history. So I love reading historical fiction.
Okay.
I love empowering women, so I find it very easy to pick up books about that. It's really, there are books about everything. Find your passions and interests and read about those. But the most important thing, اقرأ.
اقرأ. Rana Nawas is telling you. اقرأ now. Man, you just inspired me to ask you a question I wasn't really, I didn't have in mind before. But when you're selecting your guests, the way you're pitching when women win. How do you do it? Is it a podcast? How do you? Because I think that is a very big icebreaker to when people receive, an information, something maybe they don't know about. What's your pitch like? Is it usually an email? Is it like for example, have you ever messaged people on Instagram? Yeah?
I have.
And that works?
On Instagram, I tell you, messaging people cold hasn't really worked for me.
Messaging people?
Cold on Instagram, like DMing and stuff, that hasn't worked for me.
Okay.
I usually go through my network.
Okay.
So it'll be an introduction. The best way to get to people is through an introduction.
And that is a very powerful way. I'm just, I'm trying to learn as well from you, because that's a really cool way.
I met Cheryl Strayed, for example. I
Wow.
really enjoyed, now you've got me thinking about all the podcasts. I really enjoyed chatting to her on the show. I met Cheryl Strayed at the Emirates Literature Festival.
Yeah?
In 2018.
Okay.
And that must have been February, March, or April sometime. And then I chased her for 6 months by email. I tortured her to try to get her on the show, and then finally it worked.
It worked.
Yeah, but I met her, and then I just had to keep chasing.
Yeah, but I think that meeting helped, generate and push
For
that, make
sure.
that happen. Because you're right.
Yeah, and then there's women who come on the show. So for example, I really wanted to get Bosma and John on the show, who's the chief marketing. You know who she is?
Yeah.
So
You had her?
final episode of season 2.
What?
Stay tuned. Yes,
Oh.
I've done it. It's coming out in 10 days time.
In 10 days' time. So
Yeah.
maybe this is gonna come out before.
Yeah,
so stay
good.
tuned for that.
Stay tuned. So, and it just happens, right? I interviewed Beth Comstock, and she said, and I asked her for a recommendation, and she suggests Reshma Sajani. Reshma Sajani is on my wish list because she's the founder of Girls Who Code in the US, and she's written a brilliant book, yes, I've read it, called Brave Not Perfect, about how we raise our boys to be brave and our girls to be perfect, and why that translates into anxiety, depression, and lack of success in the corporate world 30 years later.
That is so powerful what you're saying today.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
So then Beth connects me to Reshma. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I'm talking to Reshma, and I know that Bosma St. John is on the board of Girls Who Code. So then I asked Reshma, would you mind connecting me to Bose?
Oh my
And she's
God.
like, of course I will. And then it happened. And so it's just happening like that.
Man, wow.
And because at a global level,
Yeah.
I need the introductions. At a
I hear you.
regional level,
I hear you. Yeah, you can.
I know them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like I know Mona Ataya,
Yes.
and I know whoever I want to interview locally or regionally. That's not a problem.
Okay.
It's yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure if you asked this question before. If you've been asked this question, what kind of music does Rana Nawas listen to? What do you? I want to get into your MP3 player, like your phone. What do you have?
I don't have an MP3 player or
Phone.
any music on my phone. This is
No
a
music.
huge.
No music on your phone.
It's a huge hole in my life right now. So I grew up listening to
Okay.
hip hop.
Aha!
And
Ha!
yes.
We got something in common.
Yes, I love hip hop. All my
Old
life.
hip hop, like 90s hip hop?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so today, I guess the kind of music I like is Drake and that
Okay,
kind of stuff.
okay.
Rihanna, Beyonce,
Really?
anything by these guys, you
Nice.
know? But it's a real gap in my life because I don't, and I just, it's not because I like music a lot, but
Okay.
because I don't have long commutes. And the time I have, I'm listening
So,
to podcasts.
can I intrude myself here?
Yeah.
I want to do a mixtape for you.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay.
I would love
I want
that.
to do a mixtape for you. I don't know. You're saying hip hop. I'll
Yes.
introduce. I'll put some of my favorite, some local people, some and send it to you and see how it is. It's gonna be one file,
Oh, amazing.
and you can just put it on your phone and just whenever you're driving, and that's it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Hmm?
And
Okay.
maybe I can ask you for tips. I would like to incorporate more music in my life. How do I do that?
But for me, in my opinion, it's research. So for me, it's when you want to do that, because right now it's all about streaming. We got the Spotify's and Ramis. They have playlists. You can just click that and just listen to it. You got a Bluetooth speaker. For me, though, I like it when people research and dig. Don't only be focused on what they give you, the powers that may be. I'm talking about here. What is the top 20? Research and dig deep. Not only locally, regionally, and worldwide. There's so much music that is not out there. Apparently, there's something like 600 songs that are released per week. You only get to hear 40 or 30 of them. So, when I say you, it's like, that there's a machine behind it and stuff
Sure,
like that.
sure.
But yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Thank you.
Couple questions for you, definitely, Rana. And this is the question I got from a fan of yours in Jordan. Her name is Haya. She's a huge fan, and when she found a huge fan, she asked me two questions. One of them is a statement, more like it, and she was like, I don't know how you think about it, about the word empowerment. Me and her, we always talk about the word empowerment, and sometimes I'm not really a big fan of the word as women empowerment. You know, and she said, let's talk about it with Rana and see. When you say women empowerment, she believes that women are already powerful. We don't need empowering. Where do you come from that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just on the spot kind of question.
So I agree that the term women empowerment is very broad and therefore potentially meaningless.
Yeah.
Because it covers everything.
Yeah.
But to say that women are already powerful, I think is very wrong. Not because they're not powerful, but you can't say someone is powerful if the laws are working against them.
Yeah.
You can't say someone is powerful if the system is built to oppress them.
Okay.
You know? And so when we say, and I hear this a lot, you know, these powerful women, I'm using say, I am empowered, I don't need women empowerment, who are you to tell me I'm not empowered? That's great, you're rich, right? You're rich, you work in a white collar, you know, you work in a white collar job and you can afford to be jobless for months. You know, you can afford to divorce that guy.
Okay.
If your family doesn't support you, or maybe your family does support you, but if they don't, you'll be okay on your own. A lot of women don't have these options. I mean, marital rape is still legal in most of the Arab world. Okay, we have the divorce. Like it's so difficult for a woman in the Arab world to get a fair settlement in a divorce. The laws work against us, right? If a woman gets beaten by her husband, it's very possible that she'll go back to her parents and say, I want to leave him. And her parents will tell her to go right back to his house.
Facts.
Sadly. So that's not just the Arab world. There's South Asian, there's Latin America. Very, very similar. So yeah, women need empowerment, not because they are not powerful. Sure they are. But when you need your husband's consent to get a passport, guess what? You're not empowered. You know, when you can't leave someone who's beating you, you know, or when you complain that you're being sexually harassed by your boss and you get fired and you can't feed your children, you're not empowered.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of, you know, there has been a lot of movies and talks and books about that. I see your point. You're right. I don't know. This is a very deep discussion, but what you said in the beginning is changing the system is the root of the problem. Yeah. That's how you do it. You gotta change the system.
You gotta and how do you change this? You need to change the culture and you need to change the laws. And like it starts with law, and then you have, you know, we have to have fair laws, like things like marital rape. That's a quick one, right? Fix it. You know, equal pay laws. Why is that only happening now? And then you have, you know, sexual harassment laws. Oh, we need a revamp of the laws in the Arab world, and then we need to implement them.
Implementation, I think, is the point. But man, this is crazy. This is one of those episodes for me. I don't know where we are right now. You know,
just but you know,
I'm gonna ask incredible.
You, where do you think the most dangerous city in the world for women is? What do you think it is?
What? Dangerous city?
The most dangerous city on planet Earth for women. The most dangerous mega city.
Wow, I have no idea.
Cairo.
Cairo,
Egypt is the most dangerous city for women.
Why?
Oh gosh, over 99% of women have been sexually harassed. And by sexually harassed, I mean it could be, you know, in the street, someone saying ya ashta or whatever. That's still sexual harassment. That's still demeaning a woman, right? But there's also real issues like not just rape, mob rape. You know, I mean, Cairo is a very dangerous city for women.
You've been before?
I've been many times. And, you know, they can say the reason I mention it is there are laws. They're just not implemented.
Yeah, and that's a really big deal. I hear you. And, you know, I just want to take this opportunity to say that I think I had a friend of mine the other day say that it's always been about, you know, men and women equal, like supporting, like we have to support each other. And there's a lot of initiatives. I'm into the music and art scene, so I always try to incorporate my sisters out there. Like if I have a lineup, you know, I cannot have a lineup without a sister there. I just can't. I've never really done it. I never will do it. Even if the lineup is dominated by men because of whatever reason it is, I will always have one or two artists that are repping my sisters out there because I think it's a duty. And I'm talking about art. There is much more, I think, stronger issues in the world, and And I
but
thank
what
you
you're
really for
talking
talking about it.
No, what you're talking about matters, right? Yeah, it's just art, but guess what? Those women are artists.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
Yeah. It's
know?
it's crucially important.
Yeah.
Another question I was asked is the episode in Arabic? Like, do you have any episodes in Arabic out there?
I've just done a clip that comes out next week. It's in Arabic.
Salam,
So
look at that.
Next week, I've interviewed Ghizlan Gennez, the founder of The Modist.
Okay, بالعربي.
Not the whole interview, but I've
Okay.
done a good 10 minutes in Arabic.
Okay.
Video, bad.
Video.
So that comes out next week.
Okay.
So I don't know when this episode comes out, but
According to Azarel on the back, he's gonna work on it. Maybe 4 or 5 days from now. But yeah, but blessings for your time. You're just really incredible.
Thank you.
I gotta ask you, where do you see when women win in the next 5 years? How do you see it?
5 years, gosh, 5 years is a long time, Big Haas.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I mean, how do you see it?
I
Do you
hope
see
we're
it,
around.
You know,
I don't know.
inshallah,
I don't take that stuff for granted anymore.
Of course, I get you. Where do you see it in the future? What do you see it? Because what you said right now can actually be taught in schools and universities, and people always make fun of me when I say hip hop is being taught in schools. There's Ninth Wonder, and there's my friend Narsi, who's Iraqi. He's teaching hip hop in universities.
Beautiful.
Hip hop is being taught. It's not the yo. It's being taught. It's elements. It's movement.
Well,
it's
a
culture.
cultural revolution. Hip hop.
So
it was,
So for me, stuff like that should also be taught in schools.
I agree completely, and they're starting in Scandinavia.
When women win.
Yeah, I mean they're starting to teach, how gender inequality starts.
Yeah.
And it starts very young, by the way.
Yes.
Very young.
Yeah.
I mean, we know
Yeah.
that at the age of 5, girls and boys have the same level of confidence. By the age of 6,
True.
girls and boys think that boys are smarter. So
That's a fact.
yeah, that was Princeton researchers. So this is what we're up against. I mean, it starts very young. So I'm hoping that the education system does incorporate some of this stuff, because to a certain degree, by the time you get to the corporate world 30 years later,
My bad. Go ahead.
there's a lot of unlearning to do. So wouldn't it be great if we could set our girls up and our boys, right? Because it has to be a partnership. And wouldn't it be great if we could set them both up for success from an early age, rather than going through what we're going through now, which is a system of, gross inequality and people having to unlearn 30-year-old behaviors and cultural assumptions. Right. So I hope when women win, will keep growing. It's currently listened to in 144 countries.
MashaAllah.
So hopefully more and more. And
this is incredible. I'm so proud of you, Rana, really, as a human being, and I think it's important. We know the culture of podcasting is relatively, I think, new in the region, but there's a lot of amazing podcasts out there.
There are.
And yours is really like a podcast that you can just put it in the car, whatever you're listening to. It's in everywhere, right? Like you can listen to it everywhere, which is really amazing. And my last question would be, tell me something that not a lot of people know about you.
Ooh.
Something that even some people who like been on your show right now will be shocked to know.
Okay, really not a lot of people know this.
Okay.
Almost nobody. But my dad, Allah yarhamah, was a OBGYN.
Okay.
And he was really the biggest feminist I've ever met. He was a bigger feminist than I am, just for the record. And he delivered me. He delivered myself and my sister in England all those decades ago.
Wow.
So yeah, my dad was the...
Oh, may he so rest in peace and power.
Thank you.
Wow. What was his name?
Dr. Malik Nawas.
Dr. Malik.
Yeah. So he delivered my sister and I, which I think is a pretty cool...
that's a cool fact.
Happenstance, yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's amazing, actually.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, Allah bless you, Rana. I can spend like another half an hour. I don't know where we are. I'm just trying to find out where we are because I got immersed.
I don't know either, although this is my neighborhood.
Yes, I got immersed in the discussion. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for
You're
having
incredible.
me.
Follow this sister, guys. I think it's, like I said, she's one of our heroes. She's no, seriously. And I think we're missing a lot of that. It's not about role models and all that. It's about this lady's making an impact. She's interviewing people that are from the West. First of all, changing their perception about us through meeting her. Second of all, in my opinion, she's impacting, maybe you don't know it, Rana, but you're impactful. I've had people tell me that I've listened to your podcast and I've changed how I think, or this inspired me to start my own podcast.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
you know how powerful that is? for people to start their own podcast because they listen to somebody.
That's incredible.
You know, and there's a lot of podcasts out there, but you never really connect until they found a connection with you, whatever it was, you know? And that's very powerful in my opinion.
And I love what you said at the beginning, you know, it's about us owning our narrative.
Yeah.
So
that's khalas,
When
that
Women
is-
Win has many objectives, and one of them is pushing out the Arab voice.
Yeah.
So I purposely, if you go and look at season 2, it's one international person, one Arab, one international, one Arab. And the goal is to bring learnings from international people into the country, into the region, sorry, and then push Arab voices out. Listen to our Arab women. See what they're doing.
Yeah.
We are all Arab women working in the Arab world. Check us out. And that's part of the mission of When Women Win.
Yeah, we keep talking. It's so incredible. Do you have any artists in the podcast?
I have Afra Ati.
Afra. Shout out to Afra, my sister.
Yeah, she was in season 1.
She is powerful.
She's so powerful.
Woo!
I love that lady.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
that's
that lady.
amazing.
Hey, I'm trying to think if there's been anyone else.
Who do you want to get with? Like, who do you want to get on your show if there's a wish list?
Serena Williams.
Oh my God! Stop the car, man. You know, if you get Serena Williams, I'll wash your dishes for like 10 years straight.
I would love to have Serena Williams on the show. And Nadine Labaki. I would love to have Nadine Labaki.
You ever met? I
Never.
feel like you don't know each other. Like, it's crazy.
Nadine?
Yeah.
No, we've communicated over email,
Okay,
but
okay.
it hasn't yet happened.
Yeah,
so.
I've been trying to interview Nadine for 12 years now.
So she's definitely up there.
Oh, wow. This is two
Yeah.
incredible names, Salaha.
Yeah.
Serena Williams.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Inshallah, maybe season
It will
3.
happen. Her sister just got beaten by a 15-year-old. Her name is Coco.
No way.
15-year-old beat Venus in an incredible match. And
No.
she's 15 in Wimbledon.
Just now in Wimbledon.
Just 2 days
Oh my
ago.
gosh.
So,
how's
yeah.
Serena doing?
I don't know. I don't think she's playing in the competition. But that's incredible. You play any sports? Any tennis?
I used to play tennis.
Yeah,
I
look
used
like a
I
tennis
love
player.
watching tennis. I used to be a swimmer, actually. I was a
Nice.
competitive swimmer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Big up for that.
Now I'm a CrossFitter.
Love. Can you say your social media handles to the guys over here? Your
Sure.
podcast and your also personal one.
Sure. So my podcast is When Women Win. So the website is whenwomenwinpodcast.com.
Nice.
And on social media, it's at When Women Win Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. And for me personally, I'm at Rana Nawas on all of them. And my website is rananawas.com. Get in
That's it.
touch. I'd love to hear from you.
Definitely
truly.
get in touch. Support this sister, man. We love you. We salute you. We're always supportive of what you're doing. Thank you so much for blessing me with this incredible buckle up. It's definitely right up there.
I love this show.
We love it. We love it. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace and love. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. We salute you. We love you. Salam.